was to take opportunities when they are given and don't let ignorance blind you from reality. So you could prepare yourselves while there is still time. Eli has been told what was happening, yet he believed it wasn't possible for people to be that inhumane. All he felt was pity for Moshe and continued to do his everyday studies. He and the other Jews thought he was mad and couldn't believe what he was trying to say. The Russian army is making gigantic strides forward. Hitler won't be able to do us any harm, even if he wants to. The people had relied on the fact that Hitler couldn't do them any harm. They believed that they were safe and even doubted that he was going to exterminate millions of people. They let that one fact blind them from all the others against them. The Germans were already in town. The fascists were already in power. The verdict had already been pronounced, yet the Jews of Singapore continued to smile. They thought that because a German soldier got a box of chocolates for Madame Khan, that they would all be safe. That the soldiers wouldn't do them any harm because of the chocolates. The optimist said that they were their Germans, and though everything else was against them, they continued to smile. He no longer talked about, to me or of God, or of the but only of what he had seen. People refused not only to believe his stories, but even to listen to them. The people believed that he was only telling the tales to get money and pity. Some refused to hear it. Even Eli would try to understand his grief, but could only pity him. Though Moshe was trying to warn the Jews about the terrors and that they will face, they continued to live their everyday lives with no fear of others harming them. I warned you, he cried to my father, and without waiting for a reply, he fled. This was the point where things started moving quickly. The Germans had already taken a few of the Jews' freedoms, and all the mind games with the Jews that the Jews played with the Germans were ending. They started to see what was happening in life. We no longer thought of anything. The verdict had been already been delivered. The Jews knew that they couldn't do anything. They were now aware of what was happening, and now they couldn't do anything other than prepare, which is what they should have done since he came back to warn them. But they didn't take the chance, and now they weren't ready for the verdict. At the time, it was still possible to obtain an immigration permit for Palestine. Yet I had asked my father to sell out, liquidate his business, and leave. They were given the chance to escape. Eli and his family could have avoided getting involved with the war and go somewhere safer. Alas, Eli's father had refused to go somewhere so far because he was so old. Even though they didn't realize it before, they let this opportunity to escape. We wish the feast were over so that we should not have to play this comedy any longer. The Jews were starting to realize what was happening around them. The comedy they were using was starting to fade. The situation was starting to sink in, and the people were starting to get anxious. Their hearts were not into it. More were worried about what was happening than focusing on Passover. The Germans won't get as far as this. They'll stay in the Budapest. Some people focused on the brighter side of things more than the actual facts. The optimism gave the Jews hope, but it didn't prepare them for what the German soldiers would later come to do. The false hope let the Jews believe that the Germans wouldn't come. A feast for kings, abandoned. But who would dare? A man appeared. Hundreds of eyes followed his movements. This man had dared. This was an opportunity to get that extra bit of food, yet the people had been so afraid. Who would have dared to go get the abandoned soup? So many risks would be involved, but one person had dared. The hunger had overcame him. Eli let his chance to get the food slip away. Once you bring life into the world, you must protect it. We must protect it by hanging the world, Eli Wiesel, in his Nobel Peace Prize speech in 1986.